Tryndamere 2. I wonder if this time it's going to change for LNG.
I hope so. I think the Tryndamere was cool, but honestly, you could kind of see it, despite the fact that it got a big lead, LNG weren't really sure what they were supposed to do with it, and then when it got to team fights, the Gragas was able to do exactly what the Gragas needed to. So I'm not a big fan of the blind pick Tryndamere. I'm totally fine with it being a counter pick, but it just kind of is a little bit weird. I honestly think here you go back towards your regular jungle pick and a support. It felt like LvMao weren't really sure. Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, Dagda. Well, incoming Gragas game 2. Yeah, maybe Gragas game 2. Let's run it back.
All right, well, I think it's going to be really interesting the fact that JDG have 2-0'd V5 and LNG now. So it's going to be super interesting to see where JDG, not the great scheme of things, but seriously, not a big fan of this. I think I like the Rek'Sai pick. I just felt like you just didn't have a huge amount of control for this for LNG, and the only reason that we actually saw LNG get that early fight was JDG making a mistake on both vision control and their exit route that they took at that Rift Herald. It doesn't feel like a run back for me for LNG. It just feels like JDG now should be better situated to not fall behind like they did in the early stages of game.
That's true. You know, fix the small parts that needed tweaking after what we saw. The ban away from Akali, though, taking an element that, let's be real, Doinb in game number 1 didn't provide that much. It was laning phase followed by, oh, we'll now have to team fight and hit angles. And, you know, much like Ala, Doinb didn't get into the prime position that he wanted to. So this time around, Dagda, I guess JDG covering more bases.
Yeah, but it's kind of the similar problem that you have in the last game. It's like, how many AP split pushers do you have? Especially when they ban away the Gwen, so we're not going to see that like flex for the Tryndamere mid. Akali taken off the board. Galio is kind of the other one that you're looking at. But honestly, I think if you go for Galio here in LNG situation, your composition just lacks so much in kind of engage and like team fight setup to enable the Galio. It doesn't quite work out, and even side lane pressure from the Galio isn't there. So now you're kind of scratching your head going, what do you actually want to see for LNG's composition? I mean maybe the Twisted Fate, but again, lack of damage. Like, I'm just kind of at a loss here.
Well, at the very least, I have to give one piece of praise to LNG. Gragas ban seems worth it, but 369 has also been a Scion abuser and an Ornn abuser. Anything could come towards that top lane, as once again, it seems like they're going to leave top for last pick. Yagao, a great Zoe, but yeah, we're going to run it back exactly the same way for JDG.
Now, I mean, the question is, what do we see for LNG? We talked about the Twisted Fate. It does work in your split push style, right? And you kind of play much more for picks, and that's what we're going to see. But you need to get the ball rolling here as LNG, or you're just lacking so much damage. A Tryndamere who's behind doesn't do much. Jinx is going to struggle a little bit to come online. I think that's why we're seeing LvMao go for this set. Works well against the Nautilus as well, but I certainly think kind of having something that can provide a little bit of damage in these early stages to help out on some of these plays is going to do LNG pretty well. Now for 369, the question is, what do you want to go towards? And could be the option of going towards that Jax if he wants to match fire with fire, but I was about to say I think the Malphite would be a wonderful pick here. I think you get great team fighting once again, not really in any danger of, like, you can just build full armor, and that's literally the only thing you have to worry about here on LNG side. Like, we don't have enough AP damage that you have to worry. So Mega Tank 369 with the armor, and JDG, you're playing the exact same composition, essentially, just with a slightly different tank in the top side.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you know, same composition for JDG. I wanted to ask you more about LNG and how they operate this. Like, this time at least there is an instant resource from Doinb that can be used towards the top or even bottom if they choose. Do you prefer this over the Akali, and do you feel like this is an easier way for them at 6 to just elevate their laning phase further?
It's hard to say. I think if you can get that access to the map, I think the Twisted Fate can do a lot more. Obviously, in the early stages, you can set up Ala to be the bigger carry again, but it's kind of like doubling down on the condition that didn't work out last time. It's trying to set up this Tryndamere for success, and if you set the Malphite behind, that's not a major issue. And we're still going to run into the same things that I think we saw last time with, like, JDG will still have push for Yagao in the mid. They can still play towards bot lane, set up for these dragons, and now you've just got less of a threat in team fights because you're running the Twisted Fate versus the Akali, less threat in the side lane, so you're very much as LNG playing for pick now, and it just means if you fall behind, you've way less maneuverability to back into these fights.
They need to fix up what happened in game number 1. Got out to a 3k gold lead, didn't play the sides. We got a 5v5, which JDG loved. Said thank you for, and we'll see you in game number 2. And here we are in a game 2 where LNG have gone a similar route. Once again, the Kanavi Rek'Sai, excuse me, I'm so used to saying Kanavi Rek'Sai. The Tarzan Rek'Sai, another Griffin or ex-Griffin jungler that I need to keep in the back of my mind. Someone who has led LNG to success. Dagda, you and I opening today talking about junglers being pivotal to the success. Controlling Tarzan is a way to beat LNG. And coming into game 2 when LNG's backs are against the wall, let's see if he can break free of those chains because this Rek'Sai needs to get a heavy start. And Dagda as well, another point to come through is that LNG, if they lose this, 8-5, and they still will not have secured playoffs after their second opportunity.
And it just feels like teams have figured out LNG. Like, they are going to play this split push. They consistently do it. They play off of too many lanes, and it means that teams can catch them out. And when you're able to prepare for this style, it becomes very easy to beat LNG. And especially when I'm looking towards those best of 5s, especially when I'm looking at playoffs, like, you go into a team that is expecting this, and you're going to get destroyed.
Yep.
LNG really need to clean up, but they've had an entire split to do it, and we're still seeing the exact same issues.
Again, it feels like this team was always looked at as potential to develop over the whole year. But again, like, you know, we are only one game in. Let's see how this develops out with a very similar draft. Dagda, it's going to be jungle starting on opposite sides of the map. And, you know, it makes sense when we did talk about last game, JDG really wanted to play towards that bottom lane. Kanavi in a similar position once again. But it looks like he could be hovering around the top side in case there's any cheeky shenanigans again to try and set 369 behind.
Yeah, I mean, Kanavi could honestly just do the exact same as he did last game and just look for the invade onto this bot side once more.
Sure.
Missing did a really good job in the last game of trying to like get that push. A little bit more difficult this game just because it's the Sett instead of the Alistar, so getting that level 1 is a bit more tough. But yeah, it looks like instead Kanavi's just going to start to teeter up towards this top side and see if he can maybe punish Ala, who may not get this crash, at least looking at where the wave is before Kanavi gets away.
There's also a ward on Tarzan's jungle worth noting. On the Krug camp, excuse me, it's Raptors, almost called it Ghost. Raptor camp is going to be spotted out when Tarzan moves his way down. He's done a full clear of the top side, moving down bottom lane. And now we're going to see JDG potentially. No, actually, he hovered around vision. So they do not know where this Rek'Sai is in this early game. Bottom lane, we're getting trading. And Dagda, I always get upset when I see the same draft. You know, I don't get to ask you new questions. I just have to kind of be like, well, you told us in game 1, and, you know, it's so similar. Doing a run back, we don't have this much.
Yeah, I think the big difference maker is that Twisted Fate.
Yep.
If you're able to get him out and like start to set up Ala, I think you're in a good spot.
Oh,
there's always the opportunity to set up for Lightus.
He wanted Hex Flash. Wanted Hex Flash. Ignite goes down as well, missing at half HP.
If anything, this maybe sets up for Doinb to try and play around bot side. You've now got like a definitive lane that's kind of like, hey, for the next 5 minutes, there is no flash. At 6 minutes, you know that you're going to hit that Destiny for Twisted Fate. So still a 2-minute window in which you can try and play around that flash being down on the bot side. But we'll have to see if they're able to set it up. I think the biggest problem for Doinb in accessing the map is just the push power that this Twisted Fate has. But we've seen Doinb not really be worried about that in the past before. This is a guy who's willing to give up lanes to roam, and I think he has to do the same.
Angle with a dredge line coming through as well. Tarzan flashed for that. Gravitum on the response. Ignite down on the enemy jungler while Ala is getting ganked up on the top side. Look who's on his way. Yagao is going to make himself known, but it depends on a scrying orb. It flies through. Ala skirts around vision, but not all of it. Against the turret, is it in time to get a little execute? Yes, it is.
This is the opposite of where I thought both these junglers would be putting the pressure, though. I thought it'd be Ala who was getting the attention from Tarzan, and instead Tarzan playing around this bottom lane. And I mean, it does net the flash out of hope. And maybe this is now where LNG are going, right, you know what, Ala, you had your chance. Despite the fact that we're playing this like split push style, we're going to go play around bot lane. And can help in getting Light some control in the map, but it just feels very weird to not give those resources to your split pushers. Like, unless you're just going, you know, Jinx, if she gets ahead, can take the turrets, and we're going to use her to actually get down these structures in the get-go instead.
Holding the wave at the bottom lane in the meantime. But yeah, like opposite pathing. Interesting point you bring up. I guess Tarzan will take it, considering jungle flash for AD flash always seems to be worth. But at the very least, with that innovative pathing, missing able to get out was a little bit unfortunate. So, Dagda, we're at that point where we're going to see more action towards that bottom side. And if that's what LNG are doing, just note that Doinb's ultimate is coming up shortly. He's a couple of minions off getting level 6. And you talked about this is the way that LNG have changed their draft. With a couple of neutrals up as well, it feels like Doinb being the linchpin is back to the strengths of LNG's, I guess, most successful games.
I want to see Tarzan try and enable him. Because as you can see at the moment, like, Doinb's just getting shoved in. Now the Destiny's been hit. You need to try and, like, put some pressure on towards Yagao in the mid to open up Doinb for these plays. It looks like LNG trying to do just that. But LvMao going to Hex Splash directly onto ward. Dragon already taken. The LNG would just back away.
Okay, well, out there with no misery. Everyone wants to be my enemy. I'm sorry I didn't do that on purpose. Was singing it the other day. Kanavi getting out with a Sonic Wave, missing as well next to his turret. LNG still being aggressive. Doinb with the Destiny at the ready, but doesn't use it. So for LNG, a play thwarted, and JDG still getting the objective out with not too much risk.
Yeah, and they'll steal a little bit of Kanavi's camps away, and just making sure, okay, with no camps now existing for the spot side for Kanavi, we know he's definitely going to be going top side. So maybe you can actually look for Tarzan to, like, move through mid, look for picks with Doinb and Allah having pushing top side, and kind of continue to put this pressure on Kanavi. That seems to be the best way to try and, like, continue forward here as LNG, since there just doesn't really seem to be much in the way of access to these side lanes at the moment for Doinb.
Yeah, I mean, at least unless it comes to the top side. Nice little bit of turret plating taken from under the nose of 369. Remembering that there's 6 CS lead up in the top side. Dagda jungle lead as well. Mid nice for Doinb. Bot pretty even. An early game for LNG that we saw in game number 1. We saw good lane leads in game number 1. It was about how the mid game transitioned. It was getting caught out, forcing a 5v5. So we can't say anything for now, but this next fight I feel like is going to be very telling, considering we have a Rift Herald once again in 55 seconds, and LNG is going to be eyes all over that.
But that's the problem for me for LNG is, you know, the ability to aggress onto these objectives isn't quite there. Yeah. I like that we're getting the freeze from like LvMao on bot side to create these slow pushes, because now they can start to roam up first. But when we look towards Dragons, JDG, not even in just this series, but every series has been impeccable with their Dragons. They're third in the league for Dragon control, and this is something now that, again, we're going to see LNG struggle with, because they just don't have control over the first Dragon that's coming up. Now JDG are starting to get the same snowball that we talked about in the last game, where LNG are going to be forced to fight, and that's really not where LNG want to be.
Again, this comes back to your point, and always talk about it as a caster, like, oh, Herald's coming up, they need to fight, but yeah, for LNG, innovative ways need to come through. Don't walk into JDG's den once again in the way that they want you to walk in. The Herald comes up, pings go down, but like in game number 1, slow reactions. LvMao's already started making the move to help get mid priority for Doinb, but Yagao expanding the mana bar to try and get the clear himself. So again, still making that movement up there, and Dagda, let's ignore what I'm about to say, because 369's getting clobbered with whatever kind of sword that is right before the Herald. Dude, I'm ready. I need it. I need blood.
I still have the TP here for 369, so I think you might get your wish, because 369 will have that big ultimate, and that, I think, could be the difference maker for JDG here. You can try and find a pick as LNG, but the ability to just start these fights on your terms for JDG is going to be so crucial. You can even see Yagao getting that quick reset for the lost chapter, so he's in a good spot here as well. Tarzan, though, with pressure in mid, and Allah getting that shove in top, means that JDG aren't going to try and contest this. They're just going to be happy for Hope to answer for the turret fights and bot side.
And a lot of the time, I was having a conversation about this, Dagda, might have actually been you. I don't have the greatest memory. But talking about the Herald trade for bottom lane turret, a lot of the time, if Hope's getting that solo gold, feels like it could be worth it, and he's pushed Doinb away. Kanavi missing, moving down. They are going to get 320 worth of gold, which is the same as a Herald push anyway.
And just more pressure on this bot side, and this is something that we talked about a lot with JDG. Moving in off of bot lane pressure, off of mid lane push, but Yagao's caught.
Yeah, there's a pick, no one nearby. Yagao going to die. The death rocket to almost steal it, but Doinb with the first blood. The first ulti, one of the best, is Kanavi with a kick flash right into the waiting arms. No haymaker in time. That CC combo just as gorgeous.
And Tarzan is kind of low now, starting to heal up off his Raptors. Could try and answer for this push we're about to see on the bot wave with turret plates in towards Doinb, but you don't really want the TF with all that turret gold. You want that on towards Allah. You would like that on towards Light. So at the moment, JDG just going tip for top, but getting those early plates. And LNG not able to set themselves up with any sort of push anywhere means they're not actually able to respond. So this was just nice play, though, from Doinb. They spot Yagao on the Tremor Sense.
Yep.
They know where JDG are positioned, so they're just able to jump onto the Viktor nice and quick and able to pick up that kill.
Nice ult from Light, but even better here from Kanavi, right? Like LvMao walking in. The thumbs go up as well, which is kind of hilarious.
I mean, the APM is off the charts for Kanavi there, but I mean, just a nice pick. And again, now you've got JDG, who, although they're sitting ever so slightly behind in gold, a lot of that isn't going to be anything to write home about. It's about how much pressure they have on the map. And we got to try and keep our eyes on Tarzan now, because we've seen him put a ton of pressure into this bottom side of the map, with the thought process being, oh, well, you know, Allah's just going to be able to win that top side matchup. But with the early pressure from Kanavi, that's not the case. And now Allah is actually struggling to kind of hold himself in towards 369 in the top lane. And Tarzan's just going to use this Rift Tower mid. I was about to say, send it top. Give some resources to your top laner.
Yeah, true. I mean, continuing to fight back, or at least struggle to, at the very least. Doinb will take some of the gold here. And again, that's 160 apiece for Tarzan, for Doinb. Dragon's up, LNG taking this fight, but remember, JDG, Dagda, you've already talked about, they want this. Showstopper in the back line, LvMao buying time. It's Dragon that goes to LNG. The Haymaker, though, gets true damage, and that's massive. While the rest of the fight go on pear-shaped, JDG is split off. Numbers disadvantage, Chaos Storm doing work. LvMao without a Haymaker again. Hope without mana. And the flash not going to be taken. LNG getting out pretty scathed, but nevertheless getting the Dragon and getting a kill.
Yagao just wasn't in position to follow up on that as Yagao trying to see if he can answer back onto LvMao, but he even had Allah roaming down, so he was already in position for that fight as well. So JDG, unfortunately, losing the fight and losing that Dragon will hurt a little, and maybe give a bit of breathing room to LNG as to how they want to try and cross map with these Dragons in the future. But so far, nice job from LNG to kind of stabilize this early game.
And it's different from game one. Game one, there was early Dragon stacking, and sure, like Mountain Soul's going to be much more valuable, especially for JDG in this game, but JDG had 2 stacked early. They unfortunately flipped the Dragon Soul count, or whatever you want to call it, for Cloud, and Dagda in front of this Hextech Dragon, LNG surprisingly getting early numbers advantage.
There was a lot invested here from LNG to get that numbers advantage. They used the Rift Tower mid though, which, as we said, not giving those resources to Allah to get mid priority, so that then Yagao couldn't come across. But again, like, I'm not worried if my TF has a kill and a bunch of gold. Like, this guy isn't going to, you know, hard carry a game. It's more so about, hey, can you get these turrets down? And with the mid lane turrets still standing, you're not really going to be able to create much pressure there to capitalize on the 3 turret plates that have already been taken. JDG are still in a pretty good spot on this bot side. As you can see, Gale Force completed first for Hope, so they can actually look to play aggressive in this lane matchup still. And Allah roamed down to try and help out on this bot side, which means that in a matchup where Allah you think is going to be alright, he's already lost 2 turret plates. Like, 369 has more turret plates taken than Allah does.
On the Malphite skin that Doinb decided when he won Worlds, he wanted. That is the FPX Malphite skin, and I just realized 369 running it against the man himself. It might not be the same lane, but it definitely has a good vibe about it. I'd call it light, very, very light trash talking. The light.
That's the banter that we need between folks. But again, I think it's a great call here for 369 with the Malphite. I think it's working out wonderfully. Mythic now completed alongside the Bramble Vest. Kanavi just sitting up here to try and stop Allah getting too many of these turret plates with the Hull Breaker that he's now completed as well. But you're looking at, like, how much control of LNG got on the map, how much control of LNG got on this game. It doesn't feel like enough right now to stop JDG finding these team fights, and that's where I'm worried again for LNG, because that was their downfall in game number 1.
Yeah, it was, as Destiny gets popped. We're going to have to see if they can elevate this one. Ulti from LvMao, again, the Facebreaker dodged away with the Gale Force. Nicely done, but Missing's left behind. LNG with another tempo play here, Dagda. You can see on the map right now, there's no response. LNG going to continue powering away on the first turret blood.
And just as I was saying I needed to see more from LNG, they come out.
There it is.
Now you've got that pressure on the top side, and we said, look, there's 2 ways that you can kind of look at taking down these towers. I'm going to hold on to this point, because you'll be actually in a lot of trouble with JDG having members here, but LvMao will here to back it up. But there's 2 ways you can think about taking down these turrets as LNG. One is, you know, getting your solo laners ahead, so giving a bunch of resources to Ala. Opposite is giving resources to Light. This is someone who's got a ton of siege potential, but now Ala's in trouble.
Yeah, he is. He's getting forced away from the turret. Looks like JDG wanted to save their top laner. Pop wasn't going down as fast as they thought, so it's going to be a response trade. Gold still in LNG's favor here at the 15-minute mark, and Dagda, as we move into longer side lanes, this is what we wanted to see from Ala and Doinb, kind of moving together as a unit, even with Tarzan in the midst, and see who they can pick in these elongated side lanes, right?
The battle for Grob's still going, but I agree. For TF, you definitely want to try and create these long side lanes to play around, but I think that's why we're seeing JDG group up as a core unit here to see if they can actually try and force or bait LNG into a fight. It doesn't quite work out for them because LNG kind of call them up and say, cool, we'll take mid tower. Then we'll get reset off for Dragon that's in 40 seconds. And with all side lanes pushing in LNG's favor, it's going to make it a little bit difficult for JDG to protect side lanes and also play for Dragon. So LNG trying to put a tough choice on towards JDG, and they're going to be using Doinb's Destiny to spot out what that decision from JDG is, and either have Doinb play up towards top side towards 369, or try and see if they can make a pick and get the Dragon for themselves.
Well, next one's coming up in 15 seconds. Always a dream, by the way, when mid lane turret goes down as a Twisted Fate. Being able to lapse up that vision or push it up as Ala and 369, just going for it. Have a great time. Rock versus, what is tryndamere? He's a man, but he looks like a very angry man. I don't know, man tries to hit Rock.
I don't know, like, because you know, like, Olaf is a Viking. I'm not exactly sure what Ala's traditional
what Ala is,
I suppose, in this one.
More like tryndamere, but yeah, no, I question it quite a lot because I'm not sure what era he's from, but it feels like almost Viking-esque, right? You look at him, look at the hair. Definitely almost feels Soul Calibur-esque. People know what I'm talking about. Or maybe that's Gangplank who's like Cervantes, I'm not sure. Anyway, tangent aside, Dragon's actually going down to JDG Dagda. What a little surprise.
And this is what we're talking about for LNG, is like making this decision is like, cool, if they're going to go for Dragon, we try and make the play towards top. And it gets the turret. They are in a position to maybe look for the a full dive on 369 at the top lane, but I think they realize this is not the best of calls, especially with Rift Herald on the bottom side.
Oh, hello. Well, Kanavi actually just collapsed upon Everfrost for a bit more. Teleport coming through. JDG want a piece of this, but with the root down for 369, the ulti as well. The Malphite unable to move for now. LvMao pops his own, and remember the 369 needs to go rock solid on someone. As Ala comes in, he decides the time is now. Dredge line in. JDG winning this because their tools are down. Ala's going to get gravitied up, dies, and 369, just when you think he can't do anything with the TP, absolutely slaps the ground.
It's the 4 versus 5, and JDG still come out on top. That's how strong this team fight is for JDG. And that's not even just talking about their composition. It's how strong the JDG team fighting has been throughout this series, throughout recent series. And you'll see it here. Kanavi trying to clear a ward, trying to set up for this Rift Herald push that Hope has got on bot side. But the Destiny comes through. They collapse onto Kanavi, but JDG are just confident. They know that they can delay this. They can at least start these fights with a great hook for missing onto Tarzan. And this is just buying time for Hope to get here. Yagao dealing so much damage. Eventually when Hope gets here, there you go, 369 with the engage. It all falls perfect.
That timing was nuts. That was beautiful. And 369 does it again. And Dagda, JDG do it again. Or should I say LNG do it again. Sticking around a bit too long. JDG once again get a fight. And Golden might not be in their favor. But having picked up the Dragon, giving the amazing elements over to 369 on his Malphite, you know, bit extra resistance here. JDG once again in the mid game are regaining control of a game that it felt like they'd completely lost.
And you've hit on the point already, Hysterics, but a huge amount of this game for LNG relies on their tempo. Like, relies on their ability to get control of the map, very quickly move around with Doinb, outpace you, but you just don't get that here as JDG are grouped up, and 369 has flash engage. LNG, you need to spot where this Rock is before he causes you issues.
Angry Mullet Man versus the Rock again, part number 3. Ala on the back wing, and he's spotted out immediately, so he's just going to Benny Hill it out of there, while the rest of JDG disengage. Now, there's no Dragon here. We're just fighting around the bottom side, or at least threatening for the time being. Ala again spotted out. I love this. Destiny used once again. JDG is a 5-man unit. behind enemy lines. Hello, Sonic Wave a little bit late. Gravity Field as well. JDG using a couple tools. Zala now in the thick of it too. He's rooted down. 369 still holding on to that ulti. The Moonlight Vigil flying through the depth charge to knock him up. It's missing with the execution. And the Rockman wins out. 369 flying in from above. Tarzan off the wing though, trying to bring it back, but it's too late. JDG once again team fight kings.
I don't know why LNG took that. Like, the one thing that you have to do with this composition is play sides and create numbers advantages with Doom. And LNG just launched themselves into the fight. JDG handily winners, and now they get Baron. Like, why is Doinb ulting in here? Look, LvMao's half health. Doomby's basically out of the equation before we even start. Ala isn't in a position to follow up. And 369 is completely zoned away Light. Like, 369 steps forward and Light can't do anything. Like, you ulted in to instantly run away. I don't get this.
Oh, Dagda, I know you're a little bit triggered, and I respect it, honestly. LNG 2 games in a row now, the same position. The exact same position. And it feels like they transition to mid-game and like, okay, so now we fight, right? Coach backstage like, no, guys, side lanes. Guys, pick potential. We have a Twisted Fade at tryndamere. LNG is sitting there like, so how do we team fight, guys? And the coach got his head in his hands, Dagda. Poppy sitting backstage saying, why? The fact they've done it 2 games in a row as well is making for some saucy stories.
It's just baffled. I do not understand why LNG are going for these plays. It's happening way too often at this stage. And again, I think coming into best of 5s, because we are just a few weeks out from our playoffs, this is not boding well. Like, these are very big errors and very easy to shut down. And you're seeing it for JDG here. If I'm going into a best of 5 against LNG, I'm pretty happy because I know exactly how to beat them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know how to beat them, Dagda. Wait until they come to you. It's happened every time. It's going to happen again. LNG still aiming for that pick, but Doinb on the bottom side. With Destiny available, but still having to match Yagao. And JDG know where their tools are. They see Tarzan on the left-hand side. Ala now skirting out from mid as well. Is Baron buff going to get a lot of work done while it's Kanavi who's soloing the dragon with no jungler nearby. A double mountain for a Malphite with more to come.
And again, I mean, this would be LNG losing out on take 2 for their chance to secure playoffs. And even with their position that we had, like, they're in 4th at the moment, but this loss would shoot them right the way down because top esports would leap them, G would leap them, hell, even JDG would leap them. So you're talking about that slip from 4th right the way down to 7th place. And
yeah,
I mean, JDG standing confident here, starting to push forward. Not much that LNG can do. Ala's trying to split a side lane, see if he can draw pressure, but JDG with Baron aren't really plus.
On the note of the standings, Dagda, they'd move above LNG. They'd have the head-to-head. They'd have the game differential if they could 2-0 this as well. They would move above current top esports, from my understanding. Now 8 and 5, they'd be probably below them, actually. Excuse me, but JDG would move to 5th. They'd be 1 game away from securing themselves. We get a fight. Dagda, a good little face breaker, but JDG have more numbers in that choke. 369 has come back in. He's rooted up for a while. Doinb's just going to stand there and take it. And LNG, I don't know what's happening, but it ain't good.
Honestly, it just feels like LNG have already given up. I mean, 20 minutes in, they Hail Mary a play that they really didn't need to. Baron goes the way of JDG, and the base is cracked open. Ala is drunk.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. I'm not sure if we can legally say that, but we've said it, haven't we? JDG running forward, and this one, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. We promised you a banger, and what is the opposite of banger? Let me quickly Google. Hold that thought, Dagda.
I think you said it best earlier on, Hysterics, during rehearsal. Titans Tuesday is looking a little bit like Toddler Tuesday.
Yeah.
As LNG, this is just not it.
A smooth
really
ride.
Isn't.
A sweet ride. Another word for a banger, a bratwurst. Frankfurters. Wait, I think I'm on the wrong website. Let's look again at the fight.
You're talking about sausages, man.
Yeah. I had to, wait, maybe I am in the right place.
Oh, God. I don't know. I mean, even disengaged. Like, nobody there to follow up a LvMao. JDG are all fully there. Like, you're engaging 4 versus 5 as the pick comp. Ala isn't even in a position to follow up. I don't know. Like, there's only so much analysis you can give before you just go, lads, what's going on?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Are you even trying?
And look, I love the little touch up on Ala there before. I realized, like, yeah, to an English audience, his name would be Ale. And realizing how actually witty that is, Dagda. So props to you as he's getting ganked. But it is Ala. You say A-L-E in Chinese is Ala, not Ale. Otherwise, yeah, we'd be dropping those a lot more. So props to you, Dagda, and props to JDG for just finding an easy one through here. The tryndamere in the side lane doesn't even get to ulti. Ember CC. Another one bites the dust. And at this point, we're just going to wait for LNG to fall into their whim.
LNG, please have a little bit of a push in mid, but Yagao is there. He should be able to pretty easily clear this wave. Super creeps as well, going to make it super tough to push in. So LNG going to reset. JDG pushing in top side. I mean, this game, I mean, it's pretty much done. You've got 3 dragons already for JDG. They're going to completely shove LNG into the base. They get to fall back towards Dragon. And as you can see, LNG's engage and team fighting doesn't come in.
And Kanavi with a kick flash again. He might even be able to do it by himself, but Hope comes in to steal the Valor. LvMao's tried this game. I think we've got to give him props. This Sett has been great on the setup, but everyone from JDG always lying in wait. The base broken in a different angle now. It's top side with inhibitor dropping down. And for JDG, I think once again we can call this team clean, as their team fighting and skirmishing on the mid game onwards has been absolutely gorgeous to watch. Dwayne The Rock Johnson with the rest of JDG heading forward. That ulti about to be up. And for Jingdong Gaming, they'll thrash LNG, deny them from making playoffs, and set themselves up in a beautiful position to do so. This team is back, and all 2020-based enjoyers of JDG should be hyping this up once again.
And remember, kids, this is why you don't blind pick tryndamere. This is, you don't come into this and you go, you know what? Yeah. We're going to blue side second pick tryndamere, because both games in a row, 369 have wonderful answers to it. Team fight was better from JDG. And honestly, LNG had no idea how they wanted to try and play this game. And with that, JDG